Okay, so let's start. I think with last week, Nonsa came, but you didn't. So, but she wasn't feeling okay. So she was sleeping while we were having a class. So I said, no, then you should go home and rest. So we only had a class for an hour only. So we didn't cover that much. So we'll still go back to what we did with her, since you were not around as well. And of course, today she says she's not with us, she's in Zimbabwe. I don't know when she'll be back. So the topic that we want to look at today is on recruitment and selection. And if you have observed, our first topic was on human resource planning. And after human resource planning, we are looking at recruitment and selection. There is also a reason why we're looking at this topic soon after human resource planning, because human resource planning is basically looking at the demand and the supply in terms of the human resource requirements for an organization. So you would agree with me that in areas where the demand is high, where we need employees and the supply is less, in such a case, it means that the organization will need to recruit. So that's why I was saying that this topic is not just by chance, but it's the flow that after looking at human resource planning, the next action is basically to recruit and select the employees that we want. So the reason is to have the required number of people in the organization. And that's why we need to basically recruit. But since we cannot just talk about recruitment without selection, so that's why we want to combine both recruitment and selection. Although I did mention last week that issues of recruitment and selection, sometimes people use these words as if they mean the same thing. But recruitment means another thing and selection also means another thing altogether. So a simplest definition of recruitment, it is basically finding and attracting applications. Okay? So that is the definition that we can define how recruitment is defined as finding and attracting applications. So the question is, how do we find? So on finding, we are looking at the sources that we are going to use in terms of recruitment. So on the sources, we are looking at both internal as well as external sources. How we are going to attract applications will depend again on how the vacancy has been crafted. What are some of the issues that have been captured in the vacancy itself? For example, you might have practically seen vacancies in the newspaper, and they'll say that they'll put a statement saying that maybe they are offering competitive salaries. So the whole issue of doing that is to make the application or the vacancy to be attractive. Because not all vacancies that we see are people interested to apply to such kind of jobs, because maybe they get an idea of the things that are being offered. The power is not working.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's working.
It's working.
Oh.
That's why I'm the wire straight. It doesn't have like a USB on it. Oh, okay. I didn't. That's a good problem. I didn't watch. So that's to capture voice,
Video and voice.
right.
So we'll mount it as a manual.
So you'll be able to observe in a central computer.
Yeah,
Perfect.
on the cloud. So
Okay.
or online at Makana once.
Time-wise.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
can go ahead.
All right.
Of course, he's one that sound again after. I'm going to configure. We're not going to be quiet.
All right.
Sure. All right, cheers.
All right.
I'm just doing a trial, no worries.
Yeah, all right. Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah. So I was defining about issues concerning recruitment. Actually, yesterday I was reading a vacancy, Malawi Welcome Liverpool Trust, because I was trying to apply for my wife. So one of the key issues that were indicated on the vacancy was that let's say contract there 2 years. It means that every year you got okay. So some people can be attracted with such issues. Okay. Or maybe they will say no, working days maybe it's only 5 days. Working hours is only 120 hours per week or 80 hours per week. So some people can be attracted to that. So that's why I'm saying that when you're recruiting people, it's not always everyone will be attracted to apply. So that's why we're saying that it's about finding and attracting. So the issue of attracting is what I'm saying is that how do you make sure that when people look at the vacancy, they get attracted to apply? Okay? Yeah, so that's what we are looking at to define as recruitment. Now, secondly, we look at what is the purpose and importance of recruitment. Purpose and importance of recruitment. Number one is basically to determine the present and future requirements. So the first purpose that we are looking at why we have to recruit is because we want to determine what is the present and the future requirements of the organization in as far as human resources is concerned. What are our current needs? Yeah. Do we have gaps in certain departments? Are we facing a shortage in terms of human resource? So what is our present need and what are our future requirements? Remember, as we were talking about the topic on human resource planning, we were looking at issues to do with the future because our plans are basically talking about the future in line with our strategic plan as an organization. So again, we have to look at what are our future requirements. Number two is to increase the pool of job candidates at a minimum cost. Is to increase the pool of job candidates at a minimum cost. So what are we saying when we're saying to increase the pool of job candidates? Yeah. So what it means is that if you attract more people, it means that again, you are likely to select the best candidate. But if you recruit a few number of people, it means that again, you are selecting for a few number of people. The chances of getting the right candidate may be very thin. But the larger the number, the more you have a good chance of picking the most successful candidate. Yeah. So if you say you're looking for one person, but when you look at how many people have applied for the job, you find that 200 people have applied. So it means you have 200 chances. Your chances are very high to select the ideal candidate. But assuming the same, that only 5 people have applied, it will be difficult for you to select effectively. Okay? So the purpose again of recruitment is because we want to increase the pool of job candidates. But at the same time, we're saying that we want this to be done at a minimum what? At a minimum cost. So which means that again, whatever method we are going to use or whatever source that we're going to use should be something that is cost what? Effective. So that's why we're able to make a choice in terms of whether should we use an internal source or should we use an external source. So many organizations will choose to use the internal sources because they know it's cheap, but also sometimes we just want to increase in terms of motivation from within because we are trying to promote or to bring in growth in our employees. Okay? Number 3 is to help increase the success rate of the selection process. Is to help increase the success rate of the selection process. So this goes in line with what I've already explained in increasing the pool of job candidates. Because if we increase the pool of job candidates, what it means is that we have also increased the success rate. Yeah. So the success rate of picking the best candidate will be dependent on if we have a larger pool of what? People. Right? Number four, or number three, is basically to meet legal and social obligations. Yes, to meet legal and social obligations. So legally, remember we did talk about that organizations have to make sure that they are in support of providing equal opportunities. Okay? So the issue is, here in Malawi, we are facing a high unemployment, but we don't have to stereotype, we don't have to use shortcuts in order to recruit people, but because we have to give out equal opportunities to both males and females. Yeah? So this can be looked at basically as both a legal and a social obligation. Yeah? Not only that, we are looking at that socially as an entity. We have to also look at that within our area where we are operating. Are we able also to provide opportunities to our surrounding? It's a social obligation. Yeah? Corporate social responsibility. So you are responsible also that in your area where you're operating here as in area 15 of University of Lilongwe. Again, University of Lilongwe has to be seen that it is also supporting in terms of its society which is surrounding it. Yeah. So that may mean again by also providing certain opportunities, and these opportunities can also be in terms of issues to do with employment. So much as I've seen so many other lecturers that are lecturing here, and I understand they were also doing school right here. Social obligation. Trying to give back to the community. Say, thank you, you have been with us for 4 years. You have given us fees for 4 years. Now here is a thank you. We're offering you now an opportunity to work here. Okay? So we are looking at that as a social obligation. So that's one of the reasons why, again, the purpose and importance of why we have to basically recruit. Not only that, again, is to reduce the probability that the job applicants, once selected, will leave shortly. Reduce the probability that job applicants, once selected, will leave shortly. So we don't want to take people that are just going to stay with us for 2 months. Can I see eh? Yes. So the reason why we have to scrutinize in terms of the recruitment, the selection process, is because we want to get candidates who will not leave the organization shortly. Reduce the probability that job applicants, once selected, will leave shortly. So what am I saying by this? So as a practical example, I had a friend who was working with wrap processors, and he had advertised for LinkedIn who is recruiting. He wanted something to do with the sales, what. So I wanted to apply. Yeah. So when I asked him, he's a friend, I told him, what's the minimum qualification? He says, no, I want somebody who has a degree. Then he laughed at me. He says, you have a master's. You cannot apply such a job. So we started arguing. I said, why? Because I'm not employed. There's high unemployment. Why wouldn't you want to employ a friend? Yeah. So he was telling me to say, no, it may not be ideal because you're looking at somebody who has a degree and you have a master's. If I recruit you, chances are very high that if you find a better job, you will. Because you'll be saying that, you know what, this job is not equal to my qualifications. Eh? Yeah, so these are one of the reasons why we have to make sure that when we're selecting people, we should not select those that have a higher possibility that they can leave at any time. Yeah, And sometimes this can also be seen from one's CV. Yeah. For example, you can see a CV, oh, you can should go 2 months or see. You know, what you just go 2 months or see. You're able to know that I think this employee has a problem. He's not all that stable. Not employee, but I mean candidate. He's not stable. Yeah, in terms of employment, but when you look at the CV and you say, okay, this person joined this organization in 2008 and he's been there for 12 years, then you know that this person is what? Is stable. So again, we want to increase the success rate that when we're selecting people, we're not selecting people that will leave the organization shortly. The last one is also to evaluate the effectiveness of the various recruitment techniques. Evaluate the effectiveness of the various recruitment techniques. So what are we saying by this is that when we use a specific recruitment technique or a specific source, like I said, internal or external, we might also want to evaluate to say, okay, if we use an internal source, how effective has it been to the organization? Yeah? Of which sometimes the disadvantage of internal recruitment is that you solve a problem by creating another. Because if you're saying you're using someone who is already in another position and you're trying to move that person to another position. So the question, what happens to this position that we use? Yeah? Unless we say that that position is not relevant to the organization or doesn't play any role to it, but then in the first place, why was that position created if it wasn't relevant? It should be that it is something that is what? Relevant. Yeah? Yeah, so we are saying that the recruitment techniques that you have used, the question is, it can also help us to evaluate to say whether the technique we have used has been ideal or not. So maybe you have used Facebook, maybe you have used LinkedIn, yeah? So the question is, after the whole process, you can sit down now and evaluate to say, okay, this technique that we have used to recruit people, has it been effective? Yes or no? Okay? So that is again one of the purpose and the importance of recruitment is because we want to also see which one is the best technique that we can be using for the organization. Remember, again, we are looking at a technique that is also going to be cost-wise effective, right? Yeah, so if you look at Facebook, it's something that is cost-effective. Other than taking a job advert and putting it in the newspaper, it's going to cost you a lot of money. But if you put it on Facebook, well and good. And also, you'll find that a lot of people have also seen it. Why? Because today's world is that many people are basically on social media. But also, if you want to vet the person, you can also see his profile. Yeah, you can know who that type of person is. And sometimes you can know the caliber of the people that you are recruiting, even from the things that they post on their social media, from the things that they like. That's why it is very important now these days that you don't just post anything on your Facebook. You don't use profound language. You don't swear. Because sometimes you never know. Recruiters are basically looking at your profile. They're looking at your page. They look at the things that you write. They look at the pictures that you post. Yeah, so you're posting there your beers and what have you. Then you don't expect a recruiter to recruit such kind of a person. Yeah. So these are issues that we are looking at, obviously, in this technological world that we are living in. But also, if you are someone as an organization who is trying to target the youth, then you know for sure you cannot take a job advert and put it in the newspaper. The youth don't buy newspapers for what? Yeah, then you'd rather put it on Facebook. You'd rather maybe post it on WhatsApp groups. Yeah, there are so many WhatsApp groups where people are also advertising various vacancies. And sometimes you see these vacancies on WhatsApp and you never see them anywhere else, which means that the organization has only chosen to use WhatsApp as their technique of what? Of recruitment. But it could be that again, because they want to target a specific age range. Yeah, so if it's the youth, then they know that, okay, if we target this, then we're going to get the most ideal candidate from this type of technique. Okay, the next thing that we're going to look at is on factors governing recruitment. Factors governing recruitment. Factors governing, or factors that will affect in terms of recruitment. So these factors, we're going to look at them in twofold, both external as well as what? Internal factors. So we'll start with, first of all, the external factors. What do you think are some of the external factors that can affect recruitment? Yeah. Let me hear your views as well. Yes, external.
Maybe the access of the workers.
Okay. Yeah, it can. It can. It can. Yeah. What else?
With the used to advertising.
The what?
The way to draw or the
Technique. The technique. The strategy that you have used. Okay, but that's more of the intent, right? Yes. Yeah, because strategy, it's you who have chosen, you have control over that. Remember, when you're looking at external and external are uncontrollable factors. Internal are controllable. So both of those factors that you have explained can fit as internal because those are things that we can control. Okay? But external issues are issues that we fail, we do not have any control over. Yeah? So of course, issues like demand and supply, availability of money, it's an external thing. The organization has nothing to do with that. Yeah? But if we look at the strategy, you know when you start to use the strategy, so it's your problem. It's something that you can control, it's something that you can change. If that strategy is not working, you can use another one. That's an internal factor. That one is not external. But when it comes to the demand and supply, yes, I will agree with you. Okay? Because you're talking about availability. So issues of unemployment, whether there is high unemployment or low unemployment, those are issues that as an organization you do not have control over that. You don't have any control of that. Whether so those are external things where as an organization you do not have any control. So one of the factors that you can look at in terms of external is the demand and supply. Yeah. So can we find the people? Availability on one hand. In terms of supply, it can also be sometimes that as an organization, you are looking at a specific skill. So, because you're hunting for a specific skill, those are things that you also don't have control because you don't know whether you're going to find that person or not. You remember when we had a cash issue in the government, issues concerning the IFMIS system. And this was something that people debated on social media to say, why did the government involve into bringing in forensic auditors from South Africa? But the question was, because they are looking at a specific skill. Okay? So the issue is that if we can't find those specific skills from within, that means you have to now go to a location where you're going to what? You're going to find them. So that's why they went to South Africa, is because they couldn't find those specific skills. So when you look at even in the education industry in Malawi, it's Panova where now people are now focusing on issues like forensic accounting, but Mbuyo unaribe those kind of courses. Yeah. So that's something that is again external. You don't have control over that. Okay? So even sometimes it can be that because of the rate of our technological development, it's slow. You find really like I was going through some scholarships and programs that they are offering. They are talking about issues of cyber security. Since only Malawi as a local university in Malawi, we don't have such kind of courses. Yeah. So these are issues that we're saying can affect in terms of our recruitment, is because we are looking for a specific skill. It can also be in terms of the image of the organization. So image is perception yantu that they have about the organization. Right? Yeah. So as an organization, if you have a bad reputation, you find that there are some people who will not apply actually. Why? Because of your reputation. But in a way, do you have control over your reputation? No. Because it's about how people perceive. So that's why even people can judge you differently. People will judge you as a good person. Another person who looks at you judges you as a bad person. But you don't have control over that. Yeah, because it's their own personal what? Judgment. Yes. So these are factors that can also affect in terms of recruitment, is because maybe people have a specific image about you, but now we are talking about it in terms of as an organization, a specific image about the organization. Yeah. So another factor, as we have said, is the unemployment rate. So if it's high, then you know that you're going to recruit a lot of people. If it is low, then you know that again, you're going to recruit less people or candidates. But also bear in mind that this unemployment rate sometimes can also be depending with the area. Okay? So sometimes you're advertising, but you want somebody from within Rio. Okay? Because obviously people in their CVs, they do write location, where are you from? I'm from Rio, but you're applying for a job in black. So some organizations may not want that. They want somebody who is within that area, because maybe they're scared of incurring other costs as relocation costs. Yeah. Because sometimes when people are relocating, some people go to the organization and try to request to say, no, I need transport, I need this, I need that. No, when I come in, I need some allowance to settle down and all sorts of things. So these are things that sometimes organizations run away from. Yeah. So what is the unemployment rate? It can also depend on the specific what you live. There are some areas, for example, in Njinji, a lot of people are business people. So you go there, you want to do your business, you want to recruit people, you'll find challenges of recruiting people. Why? Because most people are involved into farming. So not many people believe that they should work, but they should basically be self-employed. Yeah? As they worker, they should be doing their own farming and they're able to make a living out of that. So those are external issues that we are talking about. Sometimes it can also be the legal, labor laws. Yeah. So one of the issues that can also affect in terms of recruitment, for instance, child labor. In terms of employing people that are below the age of 18. Yeah. So the law there is also again affecting in terms of recruitment, because maybe you want young, energetic people, but you can't employ them if they are below the age of what? 18. Yeah. So you're looking at in terms of labor laws. Okay. So this becomes also as a constraint, or it becomes as a factor that can also affect in terms of recruitment. Okay, what about on the internal factors? So one of it is what you have already said, the recruitment strategy, or the technique that we are using, so it can be a recruitment technique, it can be in terms of the strategy that we are looking at, or it can be the sources that we have used, So one of the internal factors that we want to discuss about, number one, is on the recruitment policy. So what is your policy as an organization? Do you favor internal hiring or do you favor external hiring? So there are some organizations who prefer very much to do internal and less of the external. For example, the banks, more of internal vacancies and less external. So it means their policy favors internal hiring. So it's again something that is also going to affect in terms of recruitment. Because if you're favoring internal, it means the only people that will apply are the ones that you have. So if you have 5, those are the ones. But of course, not all of them can apply. Yeah, some will not be attracted to apply. They might be comfortable with the position that they are in, or maybe the position is slightly at a lower level than where they are. Yeah? So you don't expect them to apply, because that is something like a low job level for them. Again, as an internal factor, it can also be in terms of human resource planning. How did we make our plans in terms of human resource? And one of the key issues that we need to plan also here is in terms of resources. Okay? So obviously, if you don't have adequate resources to recruit, to do external recruitment, then we might favor internal. And that's something that is also going to affect our recruitment. So we have seen government doing what are known as walk-in interviews. So it might maybe work for them, maybe because they're looking at large numbers. But when you look at the time spent in terms of trying to evaluate walk-in interviews, it will be a headache. Yeah, because there are some people who already are underqualified, but they still want to walk in that particular interview. And we have to basically reject such kind of candidates. Again, another internal factor can also be the size of the organization. So the bigger the organization, the lesser recruitment problems you're going to have. Yeah, because sometimes people have issues of trust, yeah, issues of continuity of the business. Yeah. When the business is small, there are times where when people secure a job, they always have job security. They always feel like, no, I think maybe this business will not sustain for the next foreseeable years. And that is something that is also going to affect in terms of your job security. So the larger the organization and the lesser the recruitment problems. Okay? Again, another internal issues can also be in terms of growth and expansion. If the organization is growing fast, yeah, increase in size, you're increasing in terms of the number of branches, yeah. These are issues that again are going to affect in terms of your recruitment. So these are internal issues that we are talking about. Any question? Right, so let's continue. The next thing that we want to look at is on the recruitment process. So number one on the recruitment process is recruitment planning. Recruitment planning. So planning, we might be looking at what strategies should we use, what techniques should we use, yeah? What sources should we use, yeah? How much is the budget, yeah? So how much money is allocated, pardon?
So you mean like maybe there are some techniques we use, like we use different techniques you can use to do.
Yes, we'll talk about that. Yeah, when we're looking at the internal and external, we'll look at again what are the techniques under the internal, under the external. Okay, we'll talk about that. Yeah, it's part of the process, so we will tackle that. Apart from the planning, number 2 is the recruitment strategy.
So we plan in step 1.
But yes, recruitment planning 1, 2, recruitment strategy. So what strategy are we going to use? It can be that we're using technology. Yeah, there are softwares that instead of a person going through all the candidates, the software does the whole selection process, does the shortlisting, does the selection of the final candidate. If you go in most UN organizations, those are the systems that they use. Okay? There's no such thing as you can go the HR, because everything is done by the what? By the software. Okay, so everything is basically done online. So it can be a strategy that we are talking about, how you recruit people. Either you can use technology. Okay. Apart from that, you need to decide where are we going to look for these employees. Yeah. Are we looking at people that are already working? Are we going to poach them? Yeah, because banks have a tendency of doing that. Yeah. Kangaroo na my employees, is it? Yes. Especially when they know that, okay, this is what this guy does at this particular organization, or the organization is ticking because of him. So they would want to poach such kind of words, employees. Okay? So still on the strategy, again, part of the strategy can either be looking at internal as well as external recruitment. Yeah. So yes, let's talk about now the techniques that we're going to use under internal as well as also external. So on the internal, the techniques are that you are looking at present employees. That's the first thing that you can focus on. So one of the techniques is that you can focus on looking at your present employees. Another method that you can also use is also known as employee referrals. Referrals are E-F-E-R-R-A-L-S. Referrals. Yeah. So it happens in an organization. You're working, so your manager comes to you. You know what do you as a research assistant? I'm just giving it as an example. Right? So you say, no, why? We're Brighton. So, contact again. Referral. Yeah? So, employee referrals. Yeah? So, that's again another technique that people use in organizations, which is again very cost effective because they got to get it. We spent anything, no. Someone has just referred us to someone. Okay? Employee referrals. Sometimes it can also be a transfer or promotion. Yeah.
Still internal.
Yes, still on the internal, yes. So maybe this employee, wherever he is, there are so many branches, maybe in that center or that particular branch, maybe his services are not all that needed, but they are needed elsewhere. The employee can be transferred to another one, to another location. Right? Yeah. So that can also justify as part of internal recruitment. Instead of employing someone Tangutenga mukuru branch, like how the police do when station. Find where they're moving from one station to the other. So when they're going to another station, it means maybe where there is a need to see another request. So it is part of again as an internal recruitment. Another method or another technique is also by looking at former employees. So some employees can also be called back. Yeah, Nasia, can you come? I know I still have energy. I don't know man to leave there. I can't. Fair enough. But sometimes some employees can be called back. A veteran, be called back again. Sometimes it can also be previous applicants. Yeah, that's why people will say like, no. There was a time maybe probably you did write an application long time ago, and that application or your CV is still in the system. Okay, that time maybe the job was not fitting with your CV, but now an opportunity has come. So say, no, let's look into our database. No, this one applied, but it seems like that time he wasn't an ideal candidate. But for this position, he is an ideal candidate. Let's call him. Yeah, that's why it's important. Some of these platforms that when you subscribe, if you put your CV now and time and again, it is important also to update it. Yes, because you never know when the opportunity will come. Yeah, there are times where even when you apply for a job, you find that if you have previously applied, do you want to use your existing application? So if you say yes, it means all the information you have Kumangarwa Sinta Kokala, location, address, chani, Zakaza Sinta, those are things that you need to add to change. Maybe that time you were not married, now you are married. Those are small things that you have to add, update. You need to update those things on your CV. Okay? So we are looking at previous applicants. What about in terms of the external recruitment? How do we do this, or what are some of the techniques that we can basically look at? Number one is the trade associations. So you have been to a trade fair, yes. So the same way people display their products and what have you, employers also will be there, and people now will come bringing in their CVs, their qualifications, simply just to display that if they are the right candidate, people will what? Will take. So sometimes in other books it's known as job fair. Fair. F-A-I-R. Yeah. So we can also base that. Trade fair. Yeah, similar to that. Okay. So we can use that as part of our external. We can also use professionals. Yeah. Recruitment agencies, right? Yeah. So we do have organizations. Yeah, we do have organizations that are registered as a recruitment agency. Yeah, so some of them are known. So if organizations know about them, they can approach them and say, no, we have this vacancy. Can you help us advertise? But at the same time, can you also recruit for us? Yeah, and maybe the final selection treatment might be fair. Yeah, sometimes it's because you want to run away from biases. So you want an independent view. Okay? Yeah. Or sometimes you just want to make sure that you're doing things professionally. Someone will get it or what have you. So you leave it to a third person to do it for you. But obviously, with this corruption nowadays, days, you find that either way, when I saw the recruitment agency, nice one, there's those things are highly possible. Yeah. But of course, that is not being professional anyway. Yeah. So there is need to be to exercise professionalism at all times. As part of the external recruitment, we can also do advertisements, as what we see in the newspaper. Yeah, so that is a typical example of advertisements. Another technique that we can also look at is on employment exchange. You understand about this one? Employment exchange. But do you understand this employment exchange? Okay. There are times where people can also do what is known as an exchange program. I happen to understand this well because I almost succeeded into doing this. Yeah, where Sherwood had signed an exchange program with the International University of Namibia. Yeah. So what they were agreeing is that it's possible that somebody from Namibia comes to Malawi, does a PhD. Yeah. Then somebody from Malawi will go to Namibia. Many also have a payroll as a PhD. So you can agree in terms of the what period. So it's like Musinkana, my employees, no, something. Yes, yeah, that's the whole word. Swap, exchange. Yeah? So you exchange, it's normal. You just have to sign a memorandum of understanding and you understand that, okay, this is what we have agreed and these are the terms. Okay? So an employee can go there, you cast over salary, yes, I'm going to cast over salary. Yes, because they would have responsible for this new organization where he's working. He was on the but that's what I'm saying is that you agree on the terms. How long should the period be? When after 1 year, you're going to okay? It's possible to do that. So yeah, so that was something that is not with the point, but it was something which was there to operate as an exchange program. So sometimes it's important because now you're giving them different experiences. Because it means when if I go there, there are certain things that I will learn there. Yes, so there are certain things that is going to also learn through Sherwood and that maybe probably you could not have learned there. Okay, so you'll be any, so you agree. I think provide accommodations include everything to do with accommodation and what have you. You also work, you'll be working, you'll also be on the salary, you'll also be earning. So organizations do that, extend programs. So very common again with the universities as well. Again, as I already said, on the external, another technique is walking interview. So there'll be a list of things that are required, but maybe they'll be specified already as to what you should bring. Yeah, so it is important that walking interview should specify what things the candidate should bring. Okay, so maybe they will say, no, it's a national ID, passport, the COVID vaccination, this certificate, yeah. So what is the MSc, something like that. Yeah. So you have to specify what are the things that people should also bring. Okay, any other questions? So there are so many things: radio, television, acquisition and mergers. So if you acquire another organization, you find that you have acquired even including the what? The people, Maigula company. Yeah. Sometimes it can be mergers. So two organizations are coming together. You find that also and power. Yeah. So the two companies are merging. So you find that this can also be as part of a recruitment, because it means that you have increased in terms of your number of what? Employees. Okay, then number 3 is searching. So searching is where we are looking at that now. You'll be involved in trying to screen the applicants. Screening, which is just probably the same as where we're looking at issues of shortlisting. You want to only pick candidates who are meeting the requirements of the job. So it can be in terms of the qualification, it can be in terms of the experience that one has, or the age limit, depending on the specific specifications that you are basically looking for. And then the last step is basically evaluation and cost control.